So I think, for Rockets fans that are kind of pissed off right now, you should just look at it as a long-term play. If the Rockets end up with the number one pick, number two pick, I don't think anyone will be mad that they lost Oladipo for this and you not have additional cap space.
All right, I know you're a busy man. I know you got a lot to get to, so let's get to it right away. Let's talk about the deal that went down at the trade deadline. Victor Oladipo does get traded, as we all suspected, to the Miami Heat for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a draft swap. Your assessment of this trade?
It's pretty interesting. Everyone knew what the Rockets kind of wanted heading into the deadline. They spoke about getting a good young player, first round pick. This deal isn't any of that per se, but it does give them some expiring contracts. You now have the extra 2020 pick swap that could be valuable in a year's time. But I just think that on the surface it looks kind of underwhelming because everyone knew at the time of the Harden deal what they could have gotten. Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, two guys that could help them right now badly. And now you bring in Avery Bradley, who's currently injured, or Kelly Olynyk, who is pretty solid, but he's still, a fringe on the rotation, and you get the pick swap. So I think at first glance, it's pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, especially when I was breaking it down in the first hour, when you consider if you replace Oladipo and what you got for James Harden and you add Bradley and Kelly Olynyk and what was that dude's name? Redonkulous that they used in the PJ Tucker deal and Dante, like, you basically, you got a bunch of ones over the next, but you didn't get anything. You better hope you draft well. Because if not, this trade ends up being an absolute disaster. You better hope one of these draft picks over the next 5 to 6 years is an absolute stud and a top 5 player. If not, you lost, and you lost badly.
So I think, for Rockets fans that are kind of pissed off right now, you should just look at it as a long-term play. If the Rockets end up with the number one pick, number two pick, I don't think anyone will be mad that they lost Oladipo for this and you not have additional cap space. So in that sense, you're right. They could have gotten more, but I do think that this is Rafael Stone's long-term play. I think he has a vision at hand next, 2 to 4 years of how they want to rebuild. And this is them finally accepting, that they are going to be in a rebuild. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, they were talking about making the playoffs, being a competitive team, stuff like that. But now we kind of see now that they're kind of committing, to the rebuild.